Congratulations! You've heard that ancient mystical call to a more profound, meaningful, and fulfilling life. And now you're wondering how to get started on your very own spiritual adventure. So let's start with some definitions. What the heck is spirituality? What's it mean to navigate a spiritual path? All authentic spirituality, quite simply, is a transformational journey from selfishness to selflessness. So why is it transformational? Transformational means we can't learn our way to selflessness. Caterpillars don't learn to be butterflies, they're transformed into butterflies. Acorns don't learn to be oaks, they become oaks. We can't learn spirituality. We must become selfless human beings. All right, so why is it a journey? Because authentic spirituality is a dynamic process rather than a mere static collection of unchanging beliefs. Checking off the right belief boxes don't make you spiritual. You gotta live it 24/7. So by now I hope you're asking, how's all this accomplished? And what defines the spiritual path? All authentic spiritual paths must traverse what Joseph Campbell called the hero's journey. Campbell dug deeply into all the world's religions, folk tales, parables, stories, and myths. He discovered that despite a million surface distinctions, deep down, they all follow a universal template. A template he called the hero's journey. Today's movies are no different. They too are almost all based on the hero's journey. In every story or myth, the hero starts out selfishly. Then, by heroically overcoming the challenges at each stage along the way, the hero finally emerges as a happy, complete, powerful, and selfless human being. Okay, now that we have our definitions, let's pepper in a few principles. As above, so below. This ancient four-word mystical admonition is sometimes rendered as the macrocosm is recapitulated in the microcosm. In other words, the laws that govern the galaxies rule the atom as well. For our purposes, it means that the same rules, habits, and disciplines needed to build a house, a business, or a muscular body are applicable to building a spiritual life as well. Number 2, results are proportional to energy applied. In every earthly enterprise, the more you put in, the more you get in return. This equally applies to your spiritual life. Number 3, commitment is everything. As my old Zen teacher used to say, it ain't the prayer you say, it's how hard you do your praying. Success in every aspect of life is a function of how bad you want it, how hungry you are. Number 4, spirituality is decision-making. In the end, your spiritual progress represents the sum total of the choices you make. What you think, feel, believe, or say has value. But what matters most is what you do, how you behave. Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence is not a choice, but a habit. Same goes for spirituality. Number 5, faith. The more selfless you become, the better your life will work. The more selfless you become, the more successful you will be. The more selfless you become, the happier you will be. The more selfless you become, the more love you will find. Early on, and when things get rough, this kind of counterintuitive thinking will seem little short of crazy. This is where faith comes in. You gotta keep going despite your doubts, disappointments, failures, and heartaches. We're now ready for the practical application of these definitions and principles. Number 1, make a commitment. In the movie The Man Who Would Be King, 2 19th century ne'er-do-well ex-British soldiers decide to take over a primitive country and become kings. The first thing they do is create a contract. Their contract stipulates what they intend to accomplish and what sacrifices they are willing to make to accomplish it. For example, they swear off women, gambling, and booze until they achieve their goal. Write up a contract with yourself. Let's call it your spiritual business plan. What are you trying to achieve? Who do you want to be? And how much are you willing to sacrifice for it? Put it down in writing and get a good friend or relative to witness it. Then update it every 3 months. Number 2, get your house in order. Keeping with our business analogy, think of yourself as a spiritual entrepreneur. Starting a business means clearing the clutter from your life to make room for your new business. The same holds true for starting on the hero's journey. Are you in debt? Are you surrounded by negative people? Are you drinking too much? Are you suffocating with a dysfunctional family? Are you stuck in a spirit-killing job? Are you overweight, out of shape, and low on energy? Do you lack self-discipline, procrastinate, make excuses? Spirituality is not a magical cure-all that makes all these issues irrelevant or inconsequential. Instead, authentic spirituality forces us to face these issues head on. Remember, the most terrifying dragons the hero must confront are always in himself. Number 3, create a spiritual discipline. Reading, meditation, contemplation, and prayer belong in this category, as well as any dietary or personal disciplines you or your teacher deem necessary. Number 4, you can't do it alone. Part 1. An old adage says, the doctor who treats himself has a fool for a patient. As above, so below. The spiritual seeker who teaches himself has a fool for a follower. It's ironic that novice entrepreneurs seek out mentors. Every golfer has a pro. Celebrities have therapists, and fitness buffs turn to trainers. But when it comes to our most important issue, the care and feeding of our souls, most of us egotistically go it alone. Mentors and spiritual guides are essential aspects of the hero's journey. Try to think of a movie like Star Wars, The Matrix, Rocky, or The Karate Kid, where the hero doesn't have a teacher. Again, the highest form of spirituality is action, and one of the most critical actions to take is finding a teacher. Number 5, humility. My old Zen teacher used to say, when all else fails, try doing what your teacher tells you to do. When you do get a mentor, for pity's sake, don't argue with him. Do what he tells you to do. Number 6, you can't do it alone, part 2. Every self-help guru since the term was invented insists that the key to success is surrounding yourself with the right kinds of people. Spirituality is no different. As human beings, we are social creatures. And whether it's getting in shape, staying sober, losing weight, or starting a business, we all function better working in community. Find a church or spiritual community that aligns with your goals. If you can't find one, do what I did. Repeatedly, start your own. Number 7, be a leader. John F. Kennedy famously said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Whether it's with your mentor or spiritual community, fanatically focus on giving more than you expect in return. This is the secret sauce I learned starting my own spiritual communities. As a leader, I had to work 10 times harder than the membership. What I never expected is that in the long run, I got 1,000,000 times more in return. The best way to learn math is by teaching math. The best way for an alcoholic to stay sober is through helping others stay sober. The best way to live a spiritual life is through helping others by building community. Number 8, meetings. Back in 1981, I was working for a nascent startup called MTV Music Television. One of my clients was a group of young black guys who had managed to win the cable TV franchise for the entire city of Newark, New Jersey. It made them zillionaires overnight. They were neither wealthy nor well-connected, so one day I asked them how they managed to pull off such a spectacular coup. They told me that despite their jobs and family responsibilities, they met once a week. At every meeting, each member took on a task and reported on their completed task from the previous week. It took 3 long years, but they eventually beat out a slew of major corporations and were awarded the Turak franchise. Your spiritual community should function much the same way. Read books and share insights. Meet weekly and reveal spiritual challenges. Be open to advice and helpful criticism. Create action plans with specific goals and objectives. For example, one member might promise to get to the gym, while another might commit to making a long overdue apology. Keep track of these commitments and use positive peer pressure to hold each other accountable. 9. Constant feedback. None of this should imply a discrete, step-by-step linear process. The hero's journey is an endlessly looping process, constantly feeding back on itself like the mythological snake swallowing its own tail. For example, you may need a community to help you get your house in order, as you painfully discover that keeping your house in order is a perpetual challenge. Ditto for commitment. Commitment is not a one-off event. It's a process that is forever feeding back on itself. The more committed you are, the more sacrifices you are willing to make. And the more sacrifices you make, the more committed you become. An authentic hero's journey means continually working on all these steps simultaneously. Finally, and most importantly, begin at the beginning. Start now. It's absolutely true that the longest of journeys begins with the first step. The fiercest dragon lurking at every stage of the hero's journey is fear. This fear often rears its ugly head in the form of procrastination. I have been honored and privileged and fortunate enough to have met many fellow seekers on my own hero's journey. Not one has ever regretted taking that first tiny step.